Today on Rappler, the Philippines asks Malaysia to extend the deadline for Filipinos to leave Sabah.
I'd like to think it's more a, should I say, mistaken memory, or a lapse in memory. My recollection is certainly different from what he had written.
The son of top martial law military man Fabian Ver says Juan Ponce Enriquez's memory is failing him. And Pope Benedict XVI delivers his final speech a day before he steps down as Pope. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. The Philippines asks Malaysia for another extension of the deadline for Filipinos to leave a village in Sabah. The government wants to give Sulu Sultan Jamalul Kiram III a few more days to study the message sent to him by President Benigno Aquino. On Tuesday, Aquino warned the Sultan he would face, quote, the full force of the law unless he withdraws his gunmen from Malaysia. But Kiram's spokesman says the Sultan wants to talk directly to Aquino before ordering his people to leave. The Sultan also wants a share in Sabah's future profits. DFA spokesperson Raul Hernandez says Malaysia has yet to respond to the request for an extension. On February 12, about 180 Filipinos, heirs of the Sultan of Sulu and their followers, sailed to Sabah to pursue their claim on the state. Interior Secretary Mar Roxas says about 800,000 Filipinos in Malaysia are now at risk because of the standoff. Roxas says the government is trying to resolve the crisis peacefully so the overseas Filipino workers will not lose their jobs. He adds, it's important that we retain good relations between Malaysia and the Philippines. We don't want the Malaysians to feel like we can't be trusted inside Malaysia and Sabah. On the 27th anniversary of the EDSA revolution, Irwin Ver, the son of late Armed Forces Chief of Staff General Fabian Ver, speaks for the first time on his father's role in the Marcos administration. Ver says his memory of events differ from Senate President Juan Ponce Enriquez and businessman Roberto Ambil, both key figures during martial law. In his memoir, Enriquez claims Fabian Ver plotted to bring him down. But Irwin says Enriquez was the second most powerful man under the Marcos regime and had earned the reverence and respect of his father, who looked at Enriquez as his future boss.
Because I've always felt that my father actually respected Mr. Enriquez, in fact revered him to a point. He always thought that Senator Enriquez was going to be the next president of the Philippines. And so he had that respect for him, that he was going to be my next boss. The way my father told me is he was actually the architect of martial law. He was the chief designer and everything. And because Minister Enriquez, as brilliant as he is, but he is also the only one who knew how martial law is going to be staged. So he was the one who knew then that you had to prepare the correct environment for people to accept martial law.
Ver attributes Enriquez's allegedly flawed account to, quote, a lapse in memory.
I'd like to think that whatever inconsistencies in his book, I'd like to think it's more a, should I say, mistaken memory, or a lapse in memory. My recollection is certainly different from what he had written.
He also says he believes his father had no role in the assassination of Senator Benigno Aquino Jr. because of the way his father acted right after the incident at the airport.
I was at the quarters nursing a feverish baby, and my father barged in, who was in slippers. If he were the mastermind, I think he would be in an operations room, the military, operation with all the communications, monitoring every detail, yes. Maybe the flight arrival or the troops in place or things. But he was there in the sleepers. He was in our quarters. The second thing that I remember is when a couple of hours later, General Custodio, Luther Custodio, who is the commanding general of the Aviation Security Command. My father called him to report to him. And in the office, while I was there at the door, behind the door, I could hear that my father was asking, what happened? What happened? And the words that struck me why I knew my father did not know anything was, he said, and if I may say in Tagalog, he said, naloko na. Ginawa niyong martir si Ninoy. Lintik na tayong lahat. Nalintikan na lahat tayong lahat. And to me, that is a significant statement.
Yes. This is
that my father knows the effects of assassinating Ninoy Aquino.
Correct. Irwin Ver also responds to a story in the Inquirer where Ongpin claims Fabian Ver was out to kill him.
Funny that in Bobby Ongpin's revelation that my father was out to kill him.
Correct.
But a year ago, I believe, he made this declaration in court.
Yes.
That exonerating the role of the NISA Task Force Luntian, that they really just supported the trading. And in fact, in that article, he said, my father did not know anything about trading, which is probably true. And now he says he is out to kill him.
Yes.
It's
More Team Patay and Team Buhay tarpaulins will soon go up in the Diocese of Bacolod starting Wednesday. San Sebastian Cathedral Reactor Father Felix Pascuin says over 90 priests agreed to hang similar tarpaulins in their parishes during their meeting Tuesday with Bacolod Bishop Vicente Navarra. Pascuin says, "We are targeting all those who stood by the reproductive health law." He adds their decision, quote, transcends political consideration and that their top concern is the moral issue and not the politics. In an earlier statement, Cebu Archbishop Jose Palma says the Church's role is only to help voters choose candidates through discernment and prayer. But Pascuin says this stand is no longer enough when, quote, the doctrine of life is being challenged. A 2012 survey shows Filipinos trust the church more than they trust government. According to the second Philippine Trust Index, 68.1% of Filipinos trust the church, only 15% trust the government. Yet the government's latest trust ratings is already a huge improvement from the 2011 survey, when only 7% of Filipinos said they trusted the government. In the latest survey, 21.8% of the respondents say the church must, quote, maintain its separation from state. They also look up to the church for spiritual guidance and expect it to be a role model of holiness. Proxies in the campaign trail take center stage in Bukidnon, where only 3 candidates show up. But do they help, or do they leave people who want to engage candidates feeling frustrated? Natasha Gutierrez reports.
This voter's question to Senator Coco Pimentel is thoughtful and personal. He says Senator Coco does not get much love in northern Mindanao. What reforms will he push for to sway our vote? The problem? Pimentel is not in Bukidnon. It emphasizes the value of having the bets themselves present on the campaign trail, especially in forums for students like this. Astra Pimentel, the re-electionist's cousin, represents him. She answers the question, but even campaign manager Franklin Drilon admits it is not enough.
As we go along, we learn from these lessons. I will relate to them what happened here about the very warm reception of the youth and the fact that, you know, they missed it. So I am only the campaign manager. I cannot bring the horse to the river, to the water.
Of the 12 bets of Team Pinoy, only 3 show up. 3 send proxies and 1 sends a video. The rest are a no-show. It's a surprising decision, especially with Northern Mindanao having voted former President Joseph Estrada and Vice President Jejomar Binay over President Benigno Aquino III and his vice presidential candidate in 2010. Binay and Estrada are stalwarts of the opposition United Nationalist Alliance, or UNA. Bukidnon's Miguel Zubiri, a candidate under Una, also garnered more votes in the region than Pimentel. But it is not enough to convince Pimentel nor the others to appear in the province. Cheryl Cruz, a proxy for candidate Grace Poe, speaks in general terms when asked about her cousin's platforms and even gets Poe's educational background wrong. She says she is confident in representing Poe, but admits she could use more work in symposiums.
When it comes to like more forums, then they should let me know more. But yeah, I am comfortable when it comes to my cousin and helping her out. I hope that people who are actually listening will not be too critical of whatever it is that I say.
The request is ironic considering scrutiny is the main point of senatorial forums. Despite the absence of most bets, Drilon says he is confident of a Team Pinoy victory in northern Mindanao, but is crossing his fingers more bets show up when they return to visit southern Mindanao, especially it also having supported the opposition in the past. Candidates send proxies to maintain a presence, in sorties maybe, but does it work for forums where bets are scrutinized for their platforms? Natasha Gutierrez, Rappler, Bukidnon.
The opposition United Nationalist Alliance has no plans of changing its campaign strategy, despite a survey showing its candidates are trailing behind the administration slate. Ay Makaraig follows Una's sortie in Quezon City. She files this video blog.
A day after it is walloped in the surveys, what changed in the opposition camp? Well, nothing. The United Nationalist Alliance says it will not change its game plan, its strategy, and its messaging in the campaign, even after a social weather station survey shows only 3 out of its 9 candidates made it to the magic 12. Una campaigns here in vote-rich Quezon City convinced that the turnout of voters is enough to dispute the results of that survey. But while Una says the survey is not accurate, it says the decline of the alliance stems from attacks on its top leaders, Vice President Jejo Marbinay, former President Joseph Estrada, and Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile.
Senator Enrile, di ba yung support Irene? Nililig sa kanya yung nangyayari sa Port Irene ngayon. Tapos yung kay Presidente Erap, lumabas na naman yung sa Sandigan bayan niya na parang kailangan niya ata magbayad. So parang di ba it's a process of elimination. Yung dalawa, nasimula na. So isa na lang ang natitira and that is my father.
How can you change your strategy on the basis of something that is not verified? That has no logical basis. That has no rational basis when you try to reconcile it, no, to lend it more credibility on the ground.
Una is campaigning here in vote-rich Quezon City. Quezon City has over 1 million voters. It is fielding former Congressman Matt Defensor as candidate for the congressional race in the 3rd District up against Bolet Banal of the Liberal Party. Una is convinced it can win here in QC even if the city is led by the Belmonte family of the Liberals. Una says that Binay won here in 2010 and in other cities in Metro Manila except for Marikina. Even if it says it doesn't believe in surveys, Una will intensify its campaign after the release of the SWS poll. On Thursday, it visits Cavite and it will head to Mindanao this weekend. Ay Makaraig, Rappler.
The Philippine Coast Guard says salvage teams have removed the funnel from the U.S. Navy ship stranded in Tubataha Reef. The U.S. Guardian minesweeper ran aground on the Tubataha Reef on January 17th. Strong winds and heavy seas hampered the operation to dismantle it. The salvagers say the removal on Tuesday of the funnel is a major step. The team also removed the ship's winch used to operate its sonar equipment and plans to dismantle the mast next.